Captain Lee Minho pressed his palms against the cool metal railing of the bridge, staring at the massive viewscreen that dominated the front wall of the starship. The image before him made his breath catch in his throat. Eden 7 rotated slowly, in the darkness of space, its blue and green surface catching the light from the distant star. White clouds drifted across continents that looked almost familiar, like Earth might have appeared millions of years ago before humans changed everything. Beautiful, whispered Navigation Officer Park Ji-soo from her station near the captain's left side. Her dark eyes reflected the planet's glow as data streams flowed across her multiple monitors. She had been working for 6 hours straight, running scan after scan to make sure their readings were correct. Captain, I have run the atmospheric analysis 3 times. The air down there is almost exactly like Earth air. A human could breathe it without any equipment. Minho turned to look at her, hardly daring to believe what he was hearing. The crew of the Prometheus had been traveling through deep space for 2 years, searching for worlds that might become humanity's second home. They had found frozen rocks, poisonous gas giants, and dead worlds covered in acid rain. Nothing like this. Dr. Kim Tae-young stood up from his science station, nearly knocking over his coffee cup in his excitement. The young scientist had joined the mission fresh from the university, full of hope that they would find something amazing. Now his hands shook as he read the numbers on his screen. Sir, you need to see these biodiversity readings. The planet has forests, grasslands, rivers, and oceans. The soil contains all the minerals needed for farming. There are plants and small animals, but nothing dangerous that we can detect. How big is it compared to Earth? Minho asked, moving closer to the science station to look at the data himself. Almost exactly the same size, Tae-young replied, his voice filled with wonder. The gravity is just a little bit lighter than Earth. The day is 25 hours long instead of 24. Captain, this planet is perfect for human colonization. We could start building cities tomorrow. Communications specialist Choi Soo looked up from his equipment, where he had been listening for any signs of intelligent life on the planet below. No radio signals, no satellite transmissions, no signs of cities or technology anywhere on the surface. If there are intelligent beings down there, they are not using any kind of electronic equipment. Minho nodded, feeling a mixture of excitement and responsibility settling on his shoulders like a heavy coat. If this planet was truly as perfect as it seemed, the discovery would change human history forever. Billions of people on Earth were waiting for news of a world where they could start fresh, away from the pollution and overcrowding of their home planet. Chief Engineer Song Hannah had been quietly working at her station in the back corner of the bridge, running deep scans of the planet's internal structure. She was older than the rest of the crew, with gray streaks in her black hair and lines around her eyes from years of staring at technical displays. Her expression was troubled as she studied the energy readings from her instruments. Captain, she said slowly, her voice cutting through the excited chatter of the other crew members. I am seeing some strange energy patterns coming from deep inside the planet. The readings do not match anything in our databases of natural geological activity. Minho walked over to her station and looked at the display screen. Colorful lines moved across a 3-dimensional image of the planet's interior, showing energy flows that pulsed in regular patterns. What kind of energy are we talking about? I am not sure, Hannah admitted, adjusting her instruments to get a clearer reading. It could be some kind of natural phenomenon we have never seen before. Maybe the planet has unusual magnetic fields or radioactive deposits, but the patterns are very regular, almost like. She paused, searching for the right words. Like what? Minho prompted. Like a heartbeat, she finished quietly. The bridge fell silent for a moment as everyone absorbed this information. Then Dr. Tae-hung laughed nervously. That is probably just a coincidence. Many natural processes create regular patterns. Underground water flows, tectonic activity, magnetic field fluctuations. There are dozens of explanations. Minho looked around at his crew, seeing the hope and excitement in their faces. They had all sacrificed years of their lives for this mission, leaving behind families and friends on Earth to search for humanity's future among the stars. The discovery of Eden represented everything they had dreamed of finding. We need to be careful, he said finally. But we also cannot let fear stop us from investigating what might be the most important discovery in human history. Prepare a landing party. We will send down a small team first to do preliminary surveys. If everything checks out, we can call for the colonization fleet. Park Ji-soo smiled as she began plotting coordinates for the landing mission. Where should we set them down? Captain Minho looked back at the beautiful blue-green world on the viewscreen. Somewhere with fresh water and level ground for the shuttle. somewhere that looks like paradise. None of them noticed that the energy patterns from the planet's core had suddenly become more active, as if something deep below the surface had detected their presence and was beginning to wake up. Commander. Yoon Ji-hoon felt his boots sink slightly into the soft ground as he stepped off the shuttle's ramp. The first breath of Eden's heaven's air filled his lungs with sweetness he had never experienced before. It tasted like morning dew mixed with flowers, clean and pure in a way that made Earth's recycled ship air seem stale by comparison. He pulled off his helmet and clipped it to his belt, enjoying the gentle breeze that moved through his dark hair. Landing confirmed, he spoke into his communication device. The air is breathable and pleasant. Temperature is comfortable. Immediate dangers visible. Around him, his 3 team members moved with practiced efficiency. Pilot Oh So-min walked around their shuttle, checking the engine systems and fuel levels while her recording equipment captured everything she saw. Her job was to make sure they could get back to orbit safely when their mission was complete. Security Officer Kong Dong-yuk held his scanning device in one hand and kept his other hand near his weapon, his trained eyes constantly moving across the landscape looking for anything that might pose a threat to the team. Dr. Lim Naeon knelt near a patch of unusual purple flowers, carefully collecting soil samples in small containers. As the team's geologist, she needed to understand what the ground was made of and whether it would be safe for human settlements. The dirt felt rich and dark between her gloved fingers, full of nutrients that would make excellent farmland. The place really is like paradise, So-min said quietly, her voice filled with wonder. She pointed her camera at a grove of trees with silver bark and leaves that seemed to shimmer in the sunlight. The colonists are going to love it here. Clean air, beautiful scenery, perfect weather. Ji-hoon nodded as he looked around at the rolling hills covered in grass that looked almost like earthgrass, but with a slight blue tint that made it seem magical. Small creatures that looked like a cross between rabbits and squirrels darted between the trees, apparently unafraid of the human visitors. In the distance, he could see a river winding through the landscape, its water sparkling in the afternoon. Sun Captain Minho was right to be excited about this place, he said into his communicator. The initial survey confirms all positive readings from orbit. We are proceeding with detailed analysis. For 17 minutes, everything was perfect. So-min recorded hours of beautiful footage. Dong-yuk's scanner showed no dangerous life forms or hazardous materials anywhere nearby. Naeon collected samples that would make any farmer on Earth jealous. Ji-hoon filled out his report with nothing but positive observations. Then the ground under his feet began to move. At first he thought it might be a small earthquake. The soil seemed to shift and pulse in a rhythm that felt almost like breathing. He looked down and watched in growing alarm as the blue-tinted grass around his boots started to change color, turning from healthy green-blue to a sickly yellow, then to brown, then to black. Commander Naeon called out, her voice tight with concern. The soil samples in my containers are moving. They are pulsing like they are alive. Ji-hoon knelt down and put his hand on the ground. The pulsing was definitely there, regular and strong like a heartbeat, but it was not coming from below them. It was coming from all around them, as if the entire planet was one giant living thing. Something is wrong here, he said, standing up quickly and reaching for his communicator. Captain, we may need immediate extraction. Before he could make contact with the ship, Dong-yuk shouted a warning that made everyone's blood run cold. Commander, look at the ground. Where the grass had died, metallic veins were becoming visible under the surface. Like blood vessels made of silver and copper, they pulsed with the same rhythm as the heartbeat they had felt, and they were spreading outward from where the humans were standing. Suddenly, the beautiful landscape began to change in ways that defied explanation. Twisted structures made of metal and what looked like living tissue began rising from the earth around them. They grew like plants but moved like animals, reaching toward the sky with appendages that crackled with strange energy. What are those things? So-min screamed, backing toward the shuttle while her camera continued recording automatically. The sky above them started to darken, changing from blue to a sick green color that made everything look diseased. Massive tentacles, each one as thick as a tree trunk, burst from the ground around their landing site. They moved with purpose and intelligence, reaching toward the shuttle like giant fingers trying to grab something precious. The shuttle, Naeon yelled in terror as 3 of the organic cables wrapped around their spacecraft. The metal hull groaned and buckled under the pressure, then collapsed completely as the tentacles crushed it like an empty can. Ji-hoon grabbed his communicator and shouted into it. Prometheus, emergency extraction needed immediately. The planet is hostile. Repeat, The planet is attacking us. From orbit, Captain Minho's voice crackled through the static. We see it, Commander. Similar tentacles are reaching toward our position. We are pulling back to safe distance. As the starship moved away from the planet, Ji-hoon and his team found themselves stranded on a world that had revealed its true nature. The paradise was a lie. The beautiful surface was just bait in a trap that had been waiting for victims. Looking around at the twisted landscape, Ji-hoon saw something that made his heart sink even further. Scattered across the hills were the broken remains of dozens of spacecraft, each one designed by a different alien species. The bones of countless civilizations lay hidden in the grass, all of them victims of the same beautiful deception. Dr. Kim Tae-young had not slept for 18 hours. His eyes were red and tired, but his mind was working faster than it ever had before. The laboratory aboard the Prometheus was filled with data displays showing readings from the planet below. Every screen told the same terrifying story, but Tae-young was finally beginning to understand what they were really dealing with. Captain, he called out as Minho entered the lab with Chief Engineer Song Hana and Navigation Officer Park Ji-soo. I know what that thing is down there. Minho moved closer to the main display screen, where complex diagrams showed energy patterns flowing across the planet's surface. Tell me, it is a predator, Tae-young said, his voice shaking slightly. But not like any predator we have ever seen before. The entire planet is one single living creature. It has been pretending to be a beautiful world for thousands, maybe millions of years. Hannah frowned as she looked at the energy readings. How is that possible? Planets cannot be alive. This one is, Tae-young replied, pulling up more data on his screens. Look at these patterns. The metallic veins under the surface are like blood vessels. The energy flows are like nerve signals. The tentacles that attacked our landing party are like arms or fingers. The whole planet is one giant organism. But why does it look like paradise? Jisoo asked. Why not just attack ships directly and Space Tae-young pointed to a new set of readings that showed brainwave patterns. Because it feeds on something very specific. It does not eat metal or flesh like normal predators. It feeds on neural energy, specifically the kind of brain activity that comes from fear, panic, and desperation. The more terrified its victims become, the stronger it grows. Minho felt his stomach twist as he understood the implications. So it makes itself look perfect to attract victims, then reveals its true nature to terrify them. Exactly, Tae-young said. Every alien species that ever landed on that planet did the same thing. They saw the tentacles and the changing landscape. They panicked, and then they were consumed. Their fear made the creature stronger, and their panic made them easy to catch. Down on the planet's surface, Commander Yoon Ji-hoon was discovering the same truth through direct experience. He had managed to gather his 3 team members in a small clearing, surrounded by twisted metal structures that pulsed with alien energy. The tentacles were still reaching for them, but they seemed to be moving more slowly now. Everyone sit down and listen to me carefully, Ji-hoon said in the calmest voice he could manage. His military training had taught him how to stay cool under pressure, and he had never needed that skill more than now. I think this creature feeds on fear. When we panic, it gets stronger. When we stay calm, it gets weaker. Pilot Oh So-min was shaking as she clutched her recording equipment. How can you be calm? Our shuttle is destroyed and we are trapped on a planet that wants to eat us. Because fear will not help us survive, Ji-hoon replied firmly. He sat down cross-legged on the ground and began breathing slowly and deeply. Security Officer Dong, you know combat breathing techniques. Teach them to Dr. Naeon and So-min. Kong Dong-yuk nodded and sat down next to his commander. Despite the terrifying situation, he forced himself to speak in a steady voice. Breathe in for 4 counts. Hold for 4 counts. Breathe out for 4 counts. Focus only on your breathing. Do not think about anything else. As the 4 humans began practicing the breathing exercises, something remarkable happened. The pulsing energy in the metal structures around them became less intense. The tentacles that had been reaching for them started to slow down and pull back slightly. It is working, whispered Dr. Lim Naein in amazement. The creature is getting weaker. Back on the Prometheus, Chief Engineer Song Hana was studying the ship's equipment systems with new eyes. She had spent her whole career designing tools for peaceful exploration and scientific research, but now she needed to think like a weapons engineer. Captain, she said, pointing to technical diagrams of their mining laser system. Our mining equipment was designed to cut through solid rock and asteroid cores. The lasers are not weapons, but they are very powerful. If Dr. Kim is right about this creature having a centralized nervous system somewhere deep in the planet, we might be able to hurt it. Can we target something that specific from orbit? Minho asked. I think so, Hannah replied, her fingers moving quickly across her control interface. But I will need to modify the laser targeting system and boost the power output far beyond normal safety limits. It will probably destroy the equipment after one shot. On the planet's surface, Security Officer Dong-Yuk was taking apart their scientific equipment with the focused intensity of a master craftsman. His training had taught him how to improvise weapons from almost anything, but he had never tried to turn research tools into combat gear before. The atmospheric processor can be converted into a plasma cutter, he explained to Ji-hoon as he the devices, power systems, the electromagnetic survey scanner can become a pulse weapon if I reverse the energy flow. We will not have much ammunition, but we can fight back. Ji-hoon stood up and looked around at his team. Somin was no longer shaking. Naeon had stopped panicking and was now analyzing rock samples to find weak points in the creature's structure. Dong-Yuk had created weapons from their peaceful equipment. Good, Ji-hoon said with a grim smile. This creature has been hunting for a long time, but it has never hunted humans before. It does not know that we do not just run away when we are scared. We get angry, and when humans get angry, we fight back. The planet creature had been hunting for millions of years, but it had never faced anything like the 4 humans walking across its surface. Every other species that had landed on its fake paradise had done exactly what their survival instincts told them to do. They had seen the tentacles and the twisted metal structures. They had felt the ground pulse beneath their feet, and they had run screaming in terror until the creature consumed them. But these humans were different. Instead of running away, they were walking straight toward the most dangerous part of the planet with weapons in their hands and anger in their eyes. Commander Yoon Ji-hoon moved through the writhing landscape like a soldier on a mission. His face was set in hard lines, and his eyes burned with cold fury. Behind him, his 3 team members followed in tight formation, each one focused on their specific job. The creature sent waves of biomechanical horrors at them, but instead of panicking, the humans adapted and fought back. The nervous system pathways are strongest in that direction, Dr. Lim Naeon said, pointing toward a cluster of metallic spires that pulsed with bright energy. Her geological training had taught her how to read rock formations and underground structures, but now she was using those same skills to map the anatomy of a living planet. If we can get to the center of that formation, we should be able to reach the creature's main brain. Pilot Oh Somin had converted her recording equipment into a scanner that could detect the creature's weak points. Every time a tentacle or biomechanical structure attacked them, she found the spot where it was most vulnerable and called out coordinates to Security Officer Kong Dong-Yuk, who had become their primary weapons expert. Left side, 2 meters up. Somin called out as a massive tentacle covered in metal spikes swung toward them. Dong-Yuk fired his improvised plasma cutter at exactly the right spot, severing the appendage and causing it to crash to the ground in a shower of sparks and organic fluid. The creature roared in pain, a sound that came from deep underground and made the air itself vibrate. It feels pain, Ji-hoon said with satisfaction. That means it can be hurt. That means it can be killed. Aboard the Prometheus, Captain Lee Min-ho stood in the command center surrounded by his senior staff, coordinating the orbital part of their attack. Every screen showed different aspects of the battle taking place on the planet below. Navigation. Officer Park Ji-soo had locked their targeting systems onto the exact location where Dr. Kim Tae-young's scans showed the creature's central nervous system was located. Mining laser systems are charged to maximum power, reported Chief Engineer Song Hannah from her station. Her hands moved quickly across her controls, making final adjustments to equipment that was never designed to be used as a weapon. I have pushed the power output to 300% of normal capacity. After we fire, the entire system will be destroyed. Will it be enough? Min-ho asked. Dr. Kim Tae-young looked up from his readings, sweat beading on his forehead as he monitored the planet's vital signs. The creature's central brain is located exactly 3.2 kilometers below where Commander Ji-hoon's team is now positioned. If we can hit it from above with the mining laser at the same moment they attack from below, the combined assault should be enough to cause fatal damage. What if we miss? Park Ji-soo asked quietly. Then we all die, Min-ho replied simply. And this creature will keep hunting other species for millions more years. On the planet's surface, the 4 humans had reached the center of the neural cluster. The metallic spires around them were pulsing faster now, and the ground was shaking with the creature's distress. Biomechanical defenses rose from the earth like nightmare flowers, each one more terrifying than the last. Some looked like giant metal spiders with glowing eyes. Others resembled twisted trees with branches that moved like arms and roots that grabbed at their feet. but where other species would have been paralyzed by fear, the humans responded with tactical thinking and stubborn determination. Ji-hoon called out orders like a general commanding troops in battle. Na-hyun analyzed each new threat and found its weaknesses. So-min coordinated their movements and kept them focused on their target. Dong-yuk destroyed everything that got in their way. There, Na-yeon said, pointing to a spot where the metallic veins under the ground were thickest. That is where the main neural cluster is located. If we can break through the surface and attack it directly, do it, Ji-hoon ordered. Dong-yuk aimed his most powerful improvised weapon at the spot Na-hyun had identified. The plasma cutter, boosted with components from their electromagnetic scanner, burned through the creature's defenses like a hot knife. Through butter, the ground split open, revealing a mass of organic tissue that pulsed with electrical energy. Prometheus, we are in position, Ji-hoon said into his communicator. Fire on my mark. From orbit, Captain Minho watched the tactical display as his team prepared to fire the mining laser. All systems ready. Targeting confirmed. Waiting for your signal, Commander. The planet creature threw everything it had at the humans in one final desperate attack. Tentacles erupted from every direction. Biomechanical horrors swarmed toward them like angry insects. The very air became thick with poisonous gas. But the humans did not break. They had come too far and sacrificed too much to give up now. Ji-hoon shouted as his team unleashed their improvised weapons directly into the creature's exposed brain tissue. Fire, Minho commanded from above, and the mining laser struck downward like the hammer of an angry god. The twin assault hit the creature's consciousness from two directions at once, and for the first time in millions of years, the hunter became the hunted. The death of the planet creature was unlike anything the universe had ever witnessed. When the combined assault from above and below struck its central nervous system, the entire world convulsed like a giant animal taking its last breath. Mountains shifted, oceans boiled, and the twisted biomechanical structures that had risen from the ground collapsed back into the earth with sounds like breaking glass and tearing metal. Commander Yoon Ji-hoon and his team felt the ground shake beneath their feet as waves of energy rippled outward from the creature's dying brain. The metallic veins that had pulsed with alien life went dark and cold. The poisonous green atmosphere cleared, returning to the blue sky that had first attracted human attention. For the first time in millions of years, Eden 7 was truly dead. It is finished, Ji-hoon said quietly into his communicator. The creature is dead. We are alive. From orbit, Captain Lee Minho watched the planet's energy readings flatline on his screens. The massive predator that had hunted civilizations across the galaxy was finally gone. But as he looked at the tactical display showing the scattered wreckage of hundreds of alien ships on the planet's surface, his expression grew hard and determined. We are not just leaving, he announced to his crew, his voice carrying the authority of a man who had made an important decision. This thing killed thousands of civilizations over millions of years. We are going to make sure nothing like this ever happens again. Chief Engineer Song Hannah looked up from her damaged equipment with confusion. Captain, our mining laser system is completely destroyed. We barely have enough power to maintain life support. How can we do anything more? Minho pointed to the planet below, where the wreckage of countless alien vessels lay scattered across the landscape like a graveyard of dreams. We use what is down there. Every one of those ships represents a civilization that was destroyed by this creature. Their technology, their knowledge, their databases, everything they were is still down there waiting to be found. Dr. Kim Tae-young began running calculations on his surviving equipment. Captain, if we could salvage technology from different alien species and combine it with our own systems, we might be able to build something much more advanced than anything humans have ever created. What did you have in mind? Asked Navigation Officer Park Ji-soo. A beacon, Minho replied. Not just a simple warning signal, but a massive orbital station that will broadcast information about this creature to every species in the galaxy. We make sure that no one else ever falls for this trap. The work took weeks. Commander Ji and his team were rescued from the planet's surface by emergency shuttles. But they immediately volunteered to return and help with the salvage operation. Using equipment from dozens of different alien civilizations, Chief Engineer Song Hannah began constructing something that had never existed before. A monument built from the combined technology of species that had died together but would now save lives together. Communications specialist Choi Sung-min worked day and night with Dr. Kim Tae-young to decode the databases from the alien ships. Each vessel contained star charts, language files, cultural information, and most importantly, contact frequencies for their home worlds. Some of the civilizations were extinct, but others had colonies and allies scattered across the galaxy who were still waiting for news from their lost exploration ships. We have successfully decoded linguistic data from 147 different species. Sungman reported to Captain Minho, we can broadcast our warning message in languages that will be understood by most of the galaxy's intelligent life forms. The message they created was simple but profound. It did not boast about human superiority or demand recognition for their achievement. Instead, it focused on sharing information that would save lives. Warning: the beacon broadcast on hundreds of different frequencies in hundreds of different languages. This world was a predatory organism that disguised itself as a paradise planet. It fed on fear and panic to grow stronger. It has been neutralized by humans of Earth. Detailed survival and combat data available on all frequencies. Safe passage assured. Approach with caution but without fear. But the humans did more than just send a warning. Pilot Osermin had recorded everything that happened during their battle with the creature. Her footage showed exactly how the planet Predator operated, how it used illusion and fear as weapons, and most importantly, how it could be defeated. Commander Ji-hoon and his team compiled a complete tactical manual based on their experience, including breathing techniques to control fear, methods for improvising weapons from scientific equipment, and strategies for coordinating attacks against large biomechanical entities. We are not just warning people, Ji-hoon explained as he worked on the manual, we are teaching them how to fight back if they ever encounter something like this again. When the rescue ships from Earth finally arrived, they found the 4 humans working alongside salvage crews from a dozen different alien species who had received the beacon's signal and come to investigate. The former death trap had become a meeting place where different civilizations worked together to honor their dead and protect their future. The beacon's message spread across the galaxy faster than anyone had expected. Alien monitoring stations picked up the signal and relayed it to their homeworlds. Trading networks carried the news to distant colonies. Explorer fleets shared the information with other exploration fleets, and with the message came a new understanding about the species called humans. Other civilizations had heard stories about the new spacefaring race from Earth, but they had not understood what made humans different from other species. Now they knew. The stories spread from world to world, carried by merchants and diplomats and explorers who had never met a human but understood the significance of what had happened at Eden 7 in alien languages across the galaxy. A new phrase began to appear in communication networks and official reports. They call themselves humans. They do not know how to be prey. The trap had become a monument. The warning sign would protect species yet unknown, and the galaxy had learned something important about its newest members. They were called humans, and they turned nightmares into victories.